Hey guys, Adam with Unleashed Wargaming. I got my second Age of Sigmar battle report. This is Bretonnians versus the Dark Elves. As you can see, my general is going to be my converted Centaur. I'm actually doing I'm planning on doing an entire army of them. Just depends on what happens. So here's my first one that I made. I've got a couple more with a banner and some other weapons. But this will be representing my general. I'll be tying it in with fluff if fluff allows, if I enjoy it enough. There's just a look at the Dark Elf. He's a converted model as well. The cold one is from a chariot. The rider is a mixture of high elf legs. The torso and stuff is a dark rider. And yeah, I painted some runes on his cape going down the side. And the arm is a spear from, I think, a chariot also. So look at him from the front. The head, the arm holding the head is from an executioner. A blackguard champion. And I filed it down and angled it to where it's not going straight down, so he's actually leaning forward like he's not using his hands on the saddle or the stirrup like he should. There's a look at my Centaur general with his two-handed weapon. That is a marauder horseman. Cut his legs off, cut the horse's head off, green stuff, made the entire torso out of green stuff, and then put him in here. Made a belt out of green stuff to hide some of the seam line. The saddle I filed and cut off completely, made a blanket instead out of green stuff. This next picture, that's the army emblem that I'm using as a horse hoof, like a hoof print. And so that's how they're going to look. There's an overlook of the board. And the terrain, we rolled up a couple of pieces. Like the hills, we just said let them be ordinary. The woods, I think we rolled something. And then the two building pieces, like the wall up in the top right and the rounded piece in the middle. The rounded piece in the middle is if I get inside it, I can sacrifice D3 of my models and gain some ability, and that's not going to happen with Bretonia. And the one up in the top is as long as she is in it, she causes fear. This is another wife rep. I'm playing against my wife, and she's getting a lot better. You'll see the armies here, and hers changes. I looked at Bretonia. I never looked at, saw the Dark Elves last time I played. Bretonnians, I never really looked at them. I brought all mounted. I'll go over my army in a minute. And then she just went and picked something that she thought looked fair. My wife is very inexperienced in this game, and she probably did pretty well. But I wanted it to be fair, and so you'll see I added a couple things to her army after I saw how good the Bretonnians were. Starting on my right, on my side, these are 8 knights errant. And they have an ability. Of course, all the Bretonnians, when they charge, they get +1 to their armor, +1 to their to wound, and +1 to the damage. So if they wound, they'll kill 2 models, and that's kind of cool. If you picture a lance just bursting through 2 people. And then they have another thing, like they get to reroll misses or reroll wounds if they're within 8 inches of a damsel. I did not know this. We were just learning the rules as we go, and my damsel is clear on the other side of the army. Then I have a field trebuchet there in the middle. Those things are not as nasty as they were in 8th, but they're still good. Then I have 8 Knights of the Realm. Nothing really special about them. They hit on 3s, wound on 4s. They wound on 3s when they charge, like all Bretonnians, +1 to their armor and all that good stuff. The red model in the back is my BSB, and he's got some cool stuff. If he completes a charge and people can see him do it, then every unit in the game, every unit within that can see him gets to reroll their charge distances. That's kind of cool. And then if he slays a monster, they get another benefit. So we'll see if that comes into play. You can see my general on the left with his white emblem on his back. Then I took 5 Peg Knights which are really good. They've always been a favorite of mine um, in the process of painting them when I left Bretonia a while back. But they can move 16 inches instead of 12, which is pretty fast, and then still charge. I think when they charge, they do 3d6 minus the lowest, so pretty good. When they charge, they get what's called a swooping attack. They go in, every knight has 2 attacks, every Pegasus has 2 attacks, and then once you do it and you're finished, you can pile in and do it all over again. So this unit here, it's 4 attacks each. That's 20. That's 40 attacks out of this one unit when they charge. Over on the left, I have 8 Grail Knights and a damsel sticking off the back there. The 8 Grail Knights, they're pretty good. They're rending 1, 2 attacks each, 2 wounds. All Bretonnians that are mounted are 2 wounds each. That's crazy, and yeah, they're pretty good. Starting on her right, this is before I added some things in. She took 20 Witch Elves, and there is a hag, whatever. Anyway, one of the characters anyway with the Witch Elves. Then she took a Sorceress there. That is a Scourge Runner Chariot, which it's all right. It's not really made for combat like other chariots, but it's all right in this game. And then that's 10 Executioners. She took a Bolt Thrower up on the hill. She took her War Hydra. And then over in the trees on my far left, facing my Grail Knights, she has 10 Cold One Knights and her Dreadlord on a Cold One. These Cold Ones are bad news. They have a 4-up armor save, and if you shoot them, they get to reroll 1s on their armor saves, and in combat they get to reroll 1s and 2s. So yeah, they're tough with their armor, better than Bretonnians with their armor. They get 1 attack each, rending 1, I think, maybe not. Then the Cold Ones get 2 attacks each, wounding on 3s. They're pretty good. The General, mounted on a Cold One, his ability is he can declare it in his command phase. They can reroll their charge distance, which is pretty nice. And not only that, the banner in that unit allows them to reroll 1 of the charge dice. So you can't reroll it twice, but if you roll like a 6 and a 1, you can just reroll the 1, but if you roll a 3 and a 1, you use the other ability and reroll both of them. So not too shabby there. That's a tough unit. I'm not going to hesitate to tell you that General has 6 attacks. He's pretty bad too. There's an overlook of the board. I got to go first. You can see I moved everything forward a little bit. That might even be before I moved, but probably not. Oh, this was the show I filled out. I brought her some Blackguard because I wasn't sure, and we want this game to be fair. We want a rounded game. We're not looking to play like a lot of people are doing and say, oh, it's not supposed to be well-rounded. We want a well-rounded game while we're learning. So I brought her some Blackguard, 20 of them, and then I filled out her back 2 ranks of Executioners. So, oh, and as you can see there beside the chariot, I added a Medusa as well to see what she can do. In my first turn, the hero phase, I haven't moved yet. Hero phase, my damsel wanted to cast the Lady's Blessing, which gives you basically a 5-up ward save, and she was going to cast it on her Grail Knights here that she's with, so the Bolt Thrower couldn't pick them off. And I needed a 5, but I'm close to this forest, which gives you +1 to cast, so I needed a 4, and I rolled a 3. So great start. This is my movement phase. You can see the Grail Knights moved forward cautiously. I think I went up about 6 inches instead of 10. My Peg Knights were over behind that building, and I didn't want to move up into his easy charge range, so I kind of swooped over here to support the Grail Knights. My General and the Knights of the Realm moved up about 6 inches. I think everything went about 6. Knights Errants moved up on top of the hill. And my thinking is I have a 10-inch move and then 2d6 or 3d6 minus the lowest, I have a good charge range. And so if she pulls forward, if she tries to, get up close on me here, I have a good chance of landing some charges where she'll have really long charges. Sorry, I had to remove a picture. My wife was messing around. My trebuchet has 2 shots when it's at full health. They need 4s to hit, and there's my roll, a 3 and a 1. And then on to her magic phase. She cast Mystic Shield on somebody. I think she put it on her Witch Elves. No, she put it on her Executioners, that's right, to give them a 3-up armor save. Over here you can see her Cold Ones decided to use their command ability. And so she moved up as far as she could, and she needs an 8 on the 2 dice to get to me. And if she rolls, if she doesn't get it, she can re-roll, like we talked about. Here, I kind of helped her out a little bit because I thought it would be stupid to have her move up like this and take a chance, and then penalize her for it. If she were to shoot me with her bolt thrower or the Hydra, I get to choose who dies, and I could easily remove 1 or 2 models from the front and make that more like a 10 or 11-inch charge. But I warned her ahead of time because I didn't, it's one of the tactics that comes from 40K more than fantasy, and she's never played 40K, so I didn't want to be cheesy like that. The rest of her army, the Blackguard, moved up behind this wall. The Witch Elves actually backed up just a little bit. And not a bad play either, because she really wants to get in and attack first with them. They don't have any armor, and Bretonnians can really dish out some stuff on the charge. This is a look that her Scourge Runner shot everything it had. It's got 4 shots from crossbows and then 1 shot from a harpoon that does D3 damage. And I did nothing. Everything missed. Over here, the bolt thrower shot at the Peg Knights, 12 shots, 1 shot hit, and did not wound, so everybody who says that shooting is super overpowered, I'm not seeing it, but maybe it's other armies. In her charge phase, she made it in with her Cold Ones, and came up with the General. He got within 3 inches, so he'll be able to pile in as well. Curious as to how that's going to go, because Bretonnians, they lose 1 on their armor, they lose 1 on their damage, they don't get to re-roll to hit. All this stuff they lose when they don't charge, so Right, after combat, she did 6 wounds, killed 3 Grail Knights outright. I did 2 to her and killed 1 of her Cold Ones. Then her General piles in and does his attacks, and it looks like he killed 2 more. So, ouch, I am down to 3 Grail Knights that fast. My damsel, of course, characters don't join units, so she's still sitting back there, but wow, that hurt. There's an overlook of the board after round 1, so both of our turns have gone, and right now I think Bretonnians are hurting a little bit. I think I took that picture because I used my command ability and for my re-rolling charges and all that good stuff. Yeah, that's what I did. Okay, and then my damsel used her magic spell, the Blessing of the Lady, put it onto the Peg Knights because they're about to go into some dangerous territory, and now they will have a on the turn they charge 3-up armor save and a 5-up ward save. Over here, I took all of my knights and moved them over to the right. I wanted to be able to get that charge off, but I'm close enough now to where if she moves up and declares the charge, she'll need like an 8 or a 9, and that's not impossible, but anyway. And then here in the middle, she moved her executioners forward, got everything ready for a charge. I'm not sure what here. I think I might have moved forward a little bit with my knights so that I could, same thing. I don't care if that chariot charged me. That's what I did. Chariot can charge me all at once. I can kill it in combat. I wanted her to come in with a chariot and then pull everything up closer with a gamble that the chariot would hold me up. And then if I kill it and I win initiative after this round, I would be able to charge. So that's what that is. Over here you can see I put my peg knights. They flew back around behind these cold ones and are ready for a nice juicy charge on them. I'm going to try and wipe them out completely. The trebuchet fires, gets a direct hit and rolls d6 and does 6 wounds to the Hydra. That is awesome. So that thing has 12 wounds and now it's half dead. And then my general, I decided to try it. It just looked cool. It looked epic. My general moves around and charges her general. We're in the woods. Just kind of looks cool. Doesn't really have any effect on the combat. So, yeah, that's cool. We'll see how that plays out. The Peg Knights easily made their charge into the Cold One Knights. That's going to be a ton of attacks. In my combat phase, my general is able to put 3 wounds onto her general. He's got 6. My general only has 5, and that's kind of crazy. But yeah, I was able to do 3 wounds. She attacked with her cold ones first, I think, and did 1 wound to a Peg Knight. Because they charged, they got bonuses to their armor, and then they also had the Blessing of the Lady up. And in my charge with 40 attacks, this is how tough these cold ones are, with 40 attacks from these guys, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s on the charge, I was able to kill 4 cold one knights. Now that's 8 wounds, but out of 40, they were getting to reroll 1s and 2s and all this good stuff, and oh man, they're tough. And there's an overlook of the board. Those 4 wounds done must have included my Ground Knight attacks. So, yeah, so that's still, that means 40 attacks from Peg Knights, and then 2, 4, 6 attacks from Ground Knights, and 6 attacks from horses. I killed 4 cold ones. Those guys are tough. In my wife's command phase, her Hydra regains 3 wounds, so he's not looking as bad. Her sorceress casts Word of Pain. She's just in range. She casts Word of Pain on my Knights of the Realm. She does 1 mortal wound. As you can see, the rider must have died and fallen off. But that horse is very well trained. He's still going to go fight. So I got 1 wound on him, and now they are -1 to hit in the next combat. If combat as long as that spell stays on. The War Hydra moves up to charge my Peg Knights, and I knew that was the risk. That's why I wanted to put that Blessing of the Lady on them. The Chariot moves up. It's planning to charge the Knights of the Realm while they're weakened. Oh, and as you can see, those Executioners moved up as well. I think they did. I'll see. The Blackguard moved forward. They're going to try that long charge. I think it's an 8 or a 9 they need. In her shooting phase, she gets the bolt thrower ready and is able to kill off a Peg Knight. So that's pretty good. That's one of my 5 down. Then her Medusa, who I expertly painted gray, did her blood rack stare, and it's so funny. This thing has a rule. If you roll a dice for every model in the unit that she can see, and that can see her. On a 6, that unit takes a mortal wound. So I have 8 knights here, and I roll 8. She has to roll 8 dice, and for every 6, I take a mortal wound. However, funny enough, if she can get me to look her in the eye, in real life, me as Adam, the player, looks her in the eye, it goes off on a 5 or a 6. So she goes to do her Medusa stare. I talk to my wife all the time. I think my wife is beautiful. I look at her all the time. So naturally, I look at her and she says, "Oh, now it works on a 5." And she looks back down at her dice and did a mortal wound. She didn't roll any 6s, but she did roll a 5. And so zaps one of my Knights of the Realm. So I need to find uglier opponents that I don't want to look at. The War Hydra charges and gets into my Peg Knights. The Chariot charges and makes it into my Knights of the Realm. And over here, I loved it. The Blackguard rolled double 1s. So they just stand still, they sit right where they are, and that should be an easy charge for me if I get to go next. Over here, she decided to go first with her general, did 2 wounds to me. Ouch. And then in my turn, I said, well, my turn to choose a combat, I choose my general, and she had an assassin in the cold ones. And so the assassin pops out, but did no wounds. How about that? The assassin, he has 5 attacks, I think, and hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, something like that. But every wound he does to a character or a hero does D3 wounds. So he can butcher a character. So it's a good thing my armor saved me here. My Grail Knights, I chose to fight with them. I think that's what this is saying, but I don't think they did anything. And back here, I piled in with my sorry, drawing a blank, Peg Knights. He did nothing. I don't think the Hydra did anything to me as far as the Peg Knights go. And I did 3 more wounds and put the Hydra back up to 6 wounds. Over here, I decided to go LAPD on the Chariot, so we piled in all around it to start stomping and kicking. And we were only able to do 2 wounds. Now, we did it wrong first, and I forgot about Word of Pain, and I ended up doing like 5 of its 6 wounds. And then she reminded me, and we went back, and I did 2 wounds. So, not quite as good. Over here, my Grail Knights, I don't know what that other picture of my Knights were. Maybe it was him attacking me and didn't do anything. My Grail Knights turned and piled in onto the assassin, since he's right there within 3 inches. And they did 4 of his 5 wounds. So the assassin is barely hanging on, and I was trying to save my general. There's an overlook of the board. As you can see, there's a huge combat on the left with the Hydra, Peg Knights, Grail Knights, Cold One Knights, Assassin, my general, and his general. That's a big combat. Right there to the left of the middle, you see that red model in the little building. That's my BSB, and he's getting ready to make a move if he can. He's got the ability to slay a monster, and if I can wound that Hydra a little more and get him into the flank and kill it, my entire army gets a benefit. So that's what he's sitting there kind of hiding out. I took this picture because in 8th edition you take turns, and so I thought it's my turn. I wanted to put the Lady's Blessing on my general to make sure he stayed alive. I rolled it, I got it, and I'm not sure why. Oh yeah, I do know why I took this picture. Because right after I cast that spell, we realized, hey, that was the end of a round. We roll initiative, and my wife won. So she won the initiative. So that spell goes away. My general does not have a 5-up ward. It's still on the Peg Knights. Her Hydra gains 3 of his wounds back, so he's back down to 3. And then she uses her wizard and casts Mystic Shield and puts it onto the Executioners again, give them a 3-up armor save. Since it's her turn, she goes full out forward with her Witch Elves, 7 inches. She comes up 6 inches with the Black Guard within 3. So easy charges here. That initiative thing, I like it. I'm not saying I don't like it. It's like it's interesting. It really adds something to the game to where you don't know what's going to happen. You can't say, well, you can't charge me, and I'll have an easy charge on you next turn because you don't know if you're going next. So this time it bit me. Last time it bit her, so we'll see. And then her executioners moved forward into the woods to have a very easy charge onto my distracted Knights of the Realm. Her bolt thrower opens up and kills 2 peg knights this time. I think they were embarrassed that last time they only did, no, they didn't do anything. 12 shots did nothing. So this time they honed in a little bit while they were distracted by the Hydra and killed 2. Then the Medusa targets my Knights of the Realm again. And believe it or not, when she says it, of course, like an idiot, I look up at my wife and she says, "Oh, great, it works on 5s again." And she rolled 0 6s and she rolled 2 5s. So one of my Knights of the Realm drops dead because I have a pretty opponent. Charges were easy. Witch Elves made it in, no problem. The Blackguard made it in, no problem. And boy, they are nasty too. Those Blackguard, 2 attacks each, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, and they do 2 damage each. So that's bad. The Witch Elves, with that Hag Crone or whatever she is in there, they get 3 attacks apiece. And if she had taken one more model, she took 20. But then after she took them, she said, "You know what? This one here looks different. I'm going to make it a hag or whatever." And so it made it where there were 19 Witch Elves and a character. If she had taken one more Witch Elf, the entire unit gets to reroll all of their misses. So that's funny because she took 19, and I have 10 more on the table behind me, so she could have very easily taken one more. Lucky me, right? Over here, the Executioners made their charge as well, so that's 3 charges for my wife. Not looking good. Yeah, the Assassin kills my general. He didn't have a chance. Love that model though. God, I love the Centaur. I'm proud of that model. Did a good job. Looking forward to having a whole unit of them out here to go swinging. With my general down, we moved on to the Grail Knights. They were frustrated by that, so they killed another cold one. Killed one and put a wound on one. So they actually did good. The 3 of them did better than 8 of them. Over here, the Witch Elves had, oh my goodness, 3 attacks each. So it's 19 times 3. We decided to roll them 19 at a time. The first 2 rolls of 19 killed, let's say did 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 wounds. And we weren't sure about reaching. I said, "Go ahead and roll. I mean, they're dead anyway, roll it." She said, "No, I don't think that's right. I'm not anywhere near them. I'm not within 3, so..." And we didn't do pile-ins either. We just said they were close enough. We didn't want to take them all off the tray. So she only did 2 of her 3 rolls and killed this many. Ouch. Witch Elves are nasty. You got to get rid of them. As always, that was 8th edition too. Over here, I chose to go first. I wanted to kill something before I died. So I put all my attacks on this chariot and finished it off. And then the Executioners went to town. Executioners have a rule to where if they roll 6s when they swing to hit, roll 6s to hit, you don't roll to wound, I automatically take 2 mortal wounds, where they're just lopping off heads like crazy. She rolled 5 6s to hit. Now, and granted, she's got a ton of attacks, but she rolled 5 6s. And so that right there is 10 wounds done with no armor saves. So my 2 wounds apiece, excuse me, my 2 wound apiece guys just dropped, and then she had the rest of them that hit on anything besides a 6, needed to wound on 3s. She hacked me down and did 1 wound to the standard bearer, and he's all that's left is a standard bearer with 1 wound. Over here, the Hydra, I went and fought with the 2 peg knights, and did 2 more wounds to it, so he's back up to 5 wounds, which will weaken him for when he swings at me. And then I got to fight over here with my 3 remaining knights, and I killed 2 Blackguard. How about that? And yeah, they didn't like it. So yeah, I killed 2 of them, and they said no sir, and they chopped up the last 3 of my knights like they were nothing. Over here, I turned him around this way because with my battle shock, I mean, I was down, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 models. So my battle shock finished off my standard bearer. And there's an overlook of the board after her turn 2. Alright? Now, mind you, turn 1, we moved up and got kind of close. She went second in the first round and then got to go first in the second round. So she got 2 turns in a row, and she destroyed my army. Now, like a true Bretonnian, not going to run away. I have something to accomplish. And so here we go. I use the lady's blood. No. I use the mortal wound, the lightning bolt, and fired at her Hydra with my damsel, and nailed him for 3 wounds. So now he's up to 8 wounds out of 12. Gonna get this guy. Then I come running up here with my BSB, determined he's gonna do something heroic. My trebuchet missed completely, by the way. I aimed him at the Hydra as well. I was going to finish that thing off, but no. My damsel charges the assassin with 1 wound left. She has 1 attack, but it does D3 wounds if it gets through. And the assassin only has a 6-up armor save, so here she comes charging in. She's got 5 wounds. It's going to be hard for him to do anything to her. So she's going to run up here and try and gank this assassin, get revenge for my general. And then if I can kill that Hydra, I'll at least feel better about losing so badly. Excuse me. Of course, my BSB makes the charge into the flank of the Hydra. And look at there. I missed completely, did nothing. The assassin turned around and slashed her, did 4 of her 5 wounds. So, yeah, the damsel decided to try and be heroic, and the assassin just showed her what assassins do. 1 more round, and she would be doomed, no doubt about it. And up here, my paladin and my peg knights are only able to do 2 wounds. And believe it or not, oh wait a minute, that's not right. My paladin did 2 wounds. It got him up to 10 wounds. 11. What, my pictures are confusing here. Oh, yeah, that's right. My paladin got him up to 10. I think my horse got him to 11. That's right. I had 1 more attack to go into him. He had 11 wounds on him. I had 1 more attack from, I think the Pegasus, the 2 peg knights, their Pegasus I still had to attack. I hit once, wounded once, and she made her armor save for the final wound on the Hydra. So that thing made it through the entire game, ate 4 rocks from a trebuchet, fought and battled the peg knights for the entire game, took a charge from my paladin, and still standing with 1 wound. Ugly stuff. Boy, that thing is tough. My Stonehorn made short work of it, but that's the Stonehorn. And there's an overlook of the board. We didn't even bother, you have to count the models, right? Mine was easy. 1, 2. So I got 3, 4. I got 5 models left on the table, and she's got a ridiculous amount. Now, I tell you, at the beginning, she clearly had a third more than me. I didn't, as a learning game, right now I'm learning this game, learning the tactics, learning what to look for, and she was saying, go ahead and do your 1/3, your sudden death, and I said, I really don't want to, because I want to learn what the units do. I want to learn what all the phases, get it down to where I see the strategies and tactics without her, okay, you got to kill my Hydra, and now my entire game evolves around trebuchet shots and everything going after that Hydra. My wizard casting at it, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play a war and see what happens. See, learn the game. So she beat me handily, and I don't know. I'm going to make another video about this, just a little audio. It'll be shorter than my other ones. I only have 1 real complaint with Age of Sigmar, and it's not comp so far as like point. I don't even say point values. I don't want to limit options. Like MC1 Gamer, I think, misunderstood something I said. I don't want to say that my wife can't take her Hydra. We also have a Charybdis, 2 chariots, and a black dragon with her general on it. I don't want to say that. I want to play a balanced game with her, like this game. I want to play a balanced game that's fair. And there's no way except through trial and error to find out what that is. And that's my complaint. You can say wounds, but I could take peasant bowmen, 10 of them, and then she can take 10 executioners, and we're going to say that's fair. No, that's not right. 10 night goblins versus 10 blackguard. No, that's not. Wounds doesn't cut it. I want to see a way to balance it. If you've got some comp ideas, and I say comp, and I'm not talking about limiting options, I'm talking about balancing, a way to say when 2 people want to play a balanced game, a way to do that. Not forcing it to be balanced, not something to limit or cut back on your choices or anything like that. But when my wife and I say, let's sit down and put together 2 armies that are kind of even, learn the rules and see who wins, how do you figure that out? In Games Workshop, I know that this was your goal to say, no, we're not doing points or anything like that. But I think one of your first updates or FAQs or whatever should be some suggestions, or even make an optional rule. I know you're not going to go through and make point values on everything, but make an optional rule on a way to assign a value to a model that is actually worldwide, like game-wide. So if you have ideas on that, let me know, and I'll ask this again in another video in case people missed this. But we want to play a balanced game. I think this game would have been more balanced if I hadn't have added in. I think what she chose at the beginning was pretty good. I added in the other 10 executioners, and I added in the 20 blackguard, and I added in the Medusa 4. Well, the blackguard were completely unnecessary because the witch elves had that handled. The 10 extra executioners, 5 of them fought, 5 of them didn't. So, and they butchered those knights. Now, granted, if those other 5 hadn't been back there, that would have been 10 less attacks. So, I still would have lost, but not that fast. The Medusa killed 2 of them before the combat. So, yeah, I looked at it, and after reading my rules in Bretonia and seeing all the stuff they got, I said, hey, let's add some more stuff in, because I was trying to balance it and make it a fair fight for her. And it turned out I overbalanced it a little bit, I think, in her favor, and made it an unfair fight for me. And that's okay. I don't mind that one bit. But love some ideas and suggestions if you got them. I'll ask for it again in another video, like I said. Hope you enjoyed it. We did. We had a good time. This was another 4 a.m. game. A lot of that's because we were up with a sick kid. But, yeah, another 4, I think 4:30 is when we finally went to bed. But hope you enjoyed it, and we did, and we're planning on doing some more. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll have another one up soon.